Welcome everyone today to Mama's Kitchen on the farm. I've had so many people that have told me they don't know how to make homemade bread. And I want to show you how easy it is to make a nice loaf of homemade bread and a dozen dinner rolls for your company. You could decide to make it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it would be ready for dinner. So first of all, I got to give a big shout out to Jamie Payne, who is helping me with this video. And I also want to tell you that my 5 grandsons are very jealous because they wanted to be YouTubers before me, and my little granddaughter, Brinley. So how we're going to start today, very easy. First of all, you have to have a big, nice, pliable plastic bowl. Don't use a little glass bowl. Everything's going to fall over the sides. Start with a nice big plastic bowl. What you're going to do is you're basically going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cups of flour. I will shout out to Walmart. Their brand of unbleached all-purpose flour, which is always $3.97, is a bargain, and it makes the best bread. I've also used oil. I've used a 1/4 cup of oil in the water that's now heated in the microwave. And I'm going to add now 2 teaspoons of sugar. And 2 teaspoons of salt, and sometimes a little bit more. All right, now the best yeast to use is so easy. Fleischmann's Quick Rise. You don't have to proof it first. You just get a heaping tablespoon. A little bit more than that. Nice heaping tablespoon of yeast. Just sprinkle it in there. And I've already heated up my water. It's 3 cups of water and 1/4 cup of oil. I've heated that up in the microwave for 2.5 minutes. So what I've done now is I make a nice well in the middle of the flour. The sugar and the salt and the yeast are all mixed in there, and I've made a well. All you do, pour in that water right in that well. And then you just start to stir it. And it's going to be a little bit sloppy at first, but it's going to mix up really easily. This is the hardest part of making bread. It's so easy that this is the hardest part. So see, as you can see, it's already kind of a good consistency. The secret is using the 6 cups of flour right from the beginning. Don't just put 4 or 5 in, because then you've got a gooey mess that you got to add and add. Right now you have a very manageable dough already. So I've stirred it, I don't know, for a minute or 2 till it starts to kind of come away from the bowl. Then I just got to add a little bit more flour, just a bit. And stir that a little bit more. And I'm trying to take all the stuff off the sides at the same time, just to get it all there, and it's going to be an easy cleanup later. All right. So now we have kind of a pretty easy mixture to work with. And this is when I get my tablespoon, kind of scrape it off the wooden spoon. Ditch those. And then I just sprinkle the counter very liberally with flour. Can't use too much. And at this point, I pour it out onto the counter. It seems like it's a mess, but it really isn't. I'm going to use that bowl in a minute, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to put it here for now. So at this point, you just kind of get that all together. Mix that all together. Grab it all from the counter. And we're just trying to get it smooth and mixed in. You'll find that some of this stuff here will be there, and I kind of get that off to the side because I don't really want to add that in at the end. That makes not for a nice smooth loaf. So already I'm starting to knead. Kneading is the best part of making bread, because you can take out all your frustrations on the loaf. So basically what you're doing, I'm going to slow it down so you can see. You're just lifting up and pushing. Turn it, lift and push. Lift and push. You just do that. I've heard some people that knead for 8 minutes. I honestly say if I do 3 or 4 minutes, that's pushing it for me. I just add more flour. Knead, 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 knead. And we can do this for 2 or 3 minutes. You can eat it now if you want.
I'm getting every moment.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. If it starts to feel a little sticky, add a bit more flour. You cannot use too much flour. So, everyone out there in the bread making world knows that this is the easiest thing to make is bread. That's the work of bread right there, done. And how long did that take, Jamie? About 3 minutes?
That sounds right.
That was it. Okay. Now, I've kneaded that for about probably 2 or 3 minutes. Now what I do is I get that bowl, and at that point I usually dump what's in it. I kind of dump that into the garbage can. I'm just going to put it here for now. And I put the bowl and I put it over it. And I let it sit for about 20 minutes. So we'll be back in 20 minutes. Okay, so here we are 20 minutes later, and our bread has obviously done some growing here. So I'm just going to take this bowl off. And I have, this is probably 45 years old, and I never want anything to happen to it because it's the best utensil for this. I just scrape it off the counter like this. And kind of get it and flip it over. And so then now we're going to do some more kneading of it. This is just kind of the finished kneading. And we're basically going to be doing the same thing as what we did before. This is a little sticky, so I'm going to add flour. And I just knead it and knead it. And I got to tell you, the very first time I learned how to make bread, my mother-in-law, Marguerite LeBlanc, who lived down the road, came with her great big huge blue enamel bowl. It was about this big. And she taught me how to make 8 loaves of bread at once. Let me tell you, it was very hard on the arms. So I decided I'm going to just do it a quarter. So that's why I quartered the recipe, and I always make 2 loaves of bread. Today we're going to do 1 loaf of bread and a dozen buns out of this recipe. Another variation that you can do is you can, instead of using the water as the fluid, you can use half milk, half water, and add a beaten egg too. And I have found that that makes a really soft bread or a soft bun, which are great for hamburgers or Kaisers. So basically we're just kneading that. And I want you to hear this sound, because this is what my mother-in-law told me. This is a sign of good bread. If you hear the dough squeak, there you go. It's making noises, so that's a sign of good bread. It means that the air is getting in there. All right, add a little bit more flour. So that's about 1 to 2 minutes of kneading. It's whatever you feel like doing. And like I said, I know people that do it for 8 minutes. I've never done it for 8 minutes. And my bread always turns out, so. All right, so now what we have is a nice mound of dough. And at this point, I'm going to make 1 loaf of bread. So I'm going to bring my pan over, and I'm going to show you my best friend, and it's called parchment paper. And you can use that over and over. I've already made a loaf of bread in here one time, and I'm reusing this parchment paper. And you don't have to use any oil. Nothing ever sticks. It's great. So then I also use this favorite tool. This is my Pampered Chef pizza cutter. And I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to kind of put this to the side for now. And all I do now is add a bit more flour. And all I'm doing is shaping this into a loaf. And that is kind of pushing down and folding under. Pushing down folding under. And that is it. That's a loaf of bread ready to go. And what I do with that, another secret, is I put it in my oven with the light on. And this is when it does its final rise. Just in an oven with the light on. In a minute we will put the buns in too. So here we have, I've just used a glass square pan for this, and I've got my parchment paper ready. So just kind of put it down, ready to go. And I'm going to do buns. So we get the rest of the dough. Add more flour. If it ever feels sticky, just add flour. So now we have the rest of the dough, and I'm going to start dividing this into 12. So this is where your math comes in handy, boys and girls. We have half, a quarter, and this quarter is going to make 3 buns. So then I just kind of put it out like that, and I cut 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is how we make buns. You just kind of, with your hand, fold it under and under and under, so that you're making it almost like a little ball, but if you look at the bottom, it's kind of under. So you just go under, 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 until you have, this is what you call a dinner roll. And we just put it into our pan. And we put it right in the corner. And then I do the next one. Need a little more flour. Fold it under, until it's nice and smooth on top. You want it nice and smooth. And that one goes in there. So we're going to do this until we have all 12 done. And you can make these any shape. If you want to make a hot dog bun, just make it into a long shape. If you want to make like the ones you get at Costco, the ones that are kind of like a ciabatta bun, they're like a triangle. You can shape it into a triangle. I've even made breadsticks out of this. Nice soft breadsticks like Little Caesars Crazy Bread. And I will put garlic butter on them and Parmesan cheese. And let me tell you, our boys, our grandsons just love those. So there we have a row of 4. And we're going to do this 3 rows of 4. And so I'm almost halfway through. How long is that? That taken us about not even 2 minutes. And so we started this about half an hour ago. The second rise will take about an hour in the oven to rise up. And then the final bake takes 30 minutes to 35 minutes. So within, 2.5 hours, you can have a loaf of bread and buns. Freshly made for your family. Sometimes they're a little bit different sizes, but that's okay. Some people like littler ones, and somebody likes to take the biggest one. I know I have grandsons that always want the biggest one. And you know who you are, grandsons. And you can also, some people like to put an egg wash on their buns. You would just mix up a little bit of egg and milk, and then you brush it on with a brush just before you put them in the oven, and that makes like a glossy kind of top to it. Another thing you can do is do that and then put on sesame seeds if you want to have like a sesame seed bun. If you want to make buns that are like more of a Kaiser style, you would do them on a big pan, like a big cookie sheet, and you would, I'm going to show you how I would do it. I would do them like, these are actually little to do it, but they would be more of a flat bun, and you would put it on a pan, and it would rise up more this way, so it would make a bigger bun. But these ones are going to be dinner rolls tonight. All right, this is the little one. Maybe this little one is going to be for my little granddaughter, Brindley. This is just for her. There we go. So what I usually do now is I cut off that parchment paper. And like I say, you can use this again. I'll probably save this pan. I'll put it back in my cupboard with parchment paper in it, ready to go for a next time. And I use it probably 6 times before I throw it out. So it's a good way to save. And there we have our buns, which I'm going to put in the oven beside the bread. And they're going to rise there with the light on. I'm going to put the timer on for 1 hour. You can see them, they're rising in there. We'll come back in an hour and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, I'm going to now take this out of the oven. It's actually been about 50 minutes and I looked in and it's really risen. So I think it's ready to bake. So what I do now is I carefully take that out because we don't want it to kind of fall. And I put my oven then on to 355 degrees. Preheat it for a few minutes and then we're going to put it back in a few minutes. Okay, I think our bread's ready. It certainly has been doing a lot of growing and browning. So here's our loaf of bread. And there's our buns. And at this point, this is very easily, because of our parchment paper, just put it on a rack to cool. And then this is all ready to use the next time I want to make another loaf of bread. And there are our buns. And at this point, I usually brush some butter on the top of those. That always just adds a nice flavor and look at the end. But there you go. You have a loaf of bread and a dozen buns. Thank you for joining me in Mama's kitchen on the farm. And I'd love to have you come back and see some more of my wonderful recipes. Now, I'm going to have to stop for a second to get my tablespoon, which I forgot to get. 2.5 minutes. I forgot my wooden spoon.